Hi guys, and welcome back for another video. Today I thought I might sort of explain how I actually became a para rider and how my disability obviously affects my life and what that looks like for me. So I'd mentioned, I think in the last video, or maybe one before, I can't remember, about getting sick, like very briefly mentioning it, and that if you'd like another video, let me know. And since then I've had some messages of people asking if I could share that story, so I'm more than happy to do that. And yeah, I'm quite happy to share my story. If it helps somebody else, then it makes it worthwhile, because there's no point me just going through this on my own. So if I can help someone, that's great. So anyway, I figure I will just sort of go through. I'll try and keep this as short as possible, but we'll see how we go. I might have to end up rambling. So yeah, basically, I'm 22 now, and I was 14 when I got ill. So I've not always been disabled. I was able-bodied until I was 14 years old. I'd been 14 for a month, exactly a month, like to the day, when I got sick. So yeah, I got sick on Friday the 13th of September 2013. I was 14 years old, and it started in my right leg. And I've always been like athletic, doing tennis, netball, swimming, long distance running, riding, like all sorts. So I've had knee pain like since I was about 9, like just on and off randomly. It would just come, be really bad, and then go away. So yeah, I started with pain in my knee a couple of weeks before the Friday the 13th, and it had kind of not been like the other times where it had gone away. It sort of would bother me, say, walking up the stairs. We had stairs at home. Walking up the stairs, and then by the time I got to the top of the stairs, I could walk it off. It was okay, and it sort of was getting worse, that it was taking 20 minutes, 30 minutes to kind of go off after I'd gone up the stairs or down the stairs or that sort of stuff. But still not enough that made us think it was anything different. So we were going to the Royal Adelaide show the day that I got sick. I wasn't competing. We were just going like to watch and just to be there. And I woke up and was really struggling to walk. And we just thought my knee was just being really bad. And so anyway, I managed to go to the show, but it just got worse and worse. By the end of the day, I was really struggling to walk. And so we spoke to the physio, who said, kind of, I'll see you as soon as I can next week. Don't walk on it too much. And so I did my best to stay off it for the next week. Still tried to go about sort of daily activities, but stayed off it. Saw him the Thursday, so this was 6 days after it all started, and I was completely paralyzed on my right side, like my right leg was completely paralyzed. I was in horrendous amounts of pain. I couldn't touch my foot to the floor. My foot was purple, like freezing cold to touch. And so the physio straight away was like, no, this is not a knee injury. And why we ever thought it was, I don't know, but I suppose you don't think it's going to be anything more, do you? So yeah, he booked me in for some scans, because he was thinking, because of the paralysis, he was thinking that I may have a fracture in my spine because my back was in so much spasm. He was thinking that I might have a fracture in my spine, that when I'd gone on a ride at the show had basically exacerbated it, like the jolting or something of a ride at the show had exacerbated what we were thinking might have been a stress fracture. And so obviously we needed to get that sorted out. So I went to school the next day for yearbook photos, was on crutches because I couldn't walk, had the scans, there was no fracture, and then that night I ended up in the emergency department. I had tingling down the side of my face, it was all in my arm, like the pain was in my arm. My leg obviously was excruciating, so I ended up in the emergency department, and I was there overnight, and they sort of ruled out any injury, and so then started looking at autoimmune diseases, and potentially they had sort of sent me home with a preliminary diagnosis of juvenile onset rheumatoid arthritis. And we were going to follow up with a rheumatologist. So I sort of started getting better. I managed to get off the crutches after about 3 weeks. And with physio and stuff, we managed to get on top of the spasms. And it sort of started to get better. And we were still like talking with specialists and things, but I wasn't as bad as I was when I ended up in hospital. And then I got worse again by about Christmas time. And in January of 2014, I was diagnosed with complex regional pain syndrome, which is also known as reflex sympathetic dystrophy. And yeah, basically, by this point, it had spread throughout my entire right leg. So it started in my knee, then gone down to my foot, and then back up to my hip. So it was my whole right leg. I was getting very weak. I wasn't paralyzed, but I was very weak. And obviously the pain was completely uncontrolled. So very briefly, CRPS is a neuroinflammatory autoimmune disease that basically, it's known as the most painful disease in the world. And basically it means that when you have an injury, or even a paper cut that's classed as an injury, your immune system sends a response to the site of said injury to help it heal. So it sends the white blood cells, and then that causes the inflammation and the swelling, tells you that there's pain there, so it tells your brain that, hey, something's wrong. And that's then why, if you've hurt your leg or whatever, it can get red and swollen or go a different color with the circulation and all of that. And then as your injury heals, that inflammation response, that immune response gets switched off. And so it's not a response that your body is equipped to be in for a long period of time, if that makes sense. So you have an injury, you'll have that inflammation response for a week or two, depending on how severe the injury is, and then that goes away, or it's supposed to. But in CRPS, that never gets switched off. And so quite often people develop this after an injury or after a surgery, or even stubbing your toe, like something super minor. It doesn't have to be a massive injury. And that response then never gets switched off. And so even though you did have a broken leg, let's say, for years later, your body is still behaving as though your leg is freshly broken, which obviously is extremely painful, and then it starts to cause other issues because your body it's not supposed to have this response going all the time. So I didn't have an injury. My onset was spontaneous. They are thinking that there may be a neurological component behind it, another neurological disease, which we're trying to confirm with neurology. So if that's the case, that sort of changes things a bit. But for now, it's believed that it's spontaneous. It's been 8 years now. And yeah, so basically my immune system is attacking the nervous tissue in my leg. It spread to my wrist throughout 2014. So it now affects my lower back, my right leg, and my arm up to my elbow. And yeah, it basically is behaving as though I've got serious injuries in all of these sites, which then means that the muscle becomes so weakened, so the nerves become damaged, like the pathways become damaged because it's in this heightened state that it's just not supposed to be in, and they can't switch it off because they don't know what causes it, and so over time it basically results in severe muscle weakness. Obviously the pain never goes away, so you're in pain 24/7. Some days are much better than others, but yeah, the muscle weakness is there all the time. So I'm partially paralyzed now throughout my entire right side. So my toes are completely paralyzed. I can't move my toes at all. I developed a severe foot drop in my right side because the muscles are just so weak. So that basically just means that my, rather than being able to hold my foot up like you normally would, my foot is down like this. So I'm not able to lift my foot up, which then means your toes catch on the ground and things like that. And so developed a severe foot drop as well as a severe wrist drop, and so that means that my wrists, so I wear these splints, and I've got one on my ankle as well, all the time, so I can't function without these splints on. So I wear these anytime I am awake. I have splints on, and that basically just means that my wrist, say here, is able to be held in a you know, a position that's useful to me. So these 2 fingers I have good control over, still weak, but good control over. These 2 fingers I can't straighten on my own at all. So that's sort of as much movement as I have in those fingers. And so it just means like my grip strength is severely reduced, so I drop things all the time, which drives me completely insane. Yeah, my right leg is very weak, so I haven't got a lot of voluntary muscle control in my leg anymore, because after 8 years of this disease, my muscles and the pathways from the muscles to my brain have become very damaged, and the nervous tissue is just so inflamed, and the nerves are also inflamed, that they just cannot send or receive signals properly anymore, and that unfortunately at this stage is irreversible. One day there might be treatment that comes along that means they can reverse it, but at the moment, yeah, the damage is done, which means this is my strength. I have gotten stronger. I learned how to walk again in 2016. So I've gotten stronger over time with sort of training in the gym and things like that, but I've never regained the muscle function that I lost. I've never regained that. I've just strengthened the muscle that I do have control over, if that makes sense. And so, yeah, along with all of that comes a lot of fatigue, both like as in sleeping. So obviously I'm on a lot of medication, and that affects everything, your sleeping, your appetite, everything. But it comes with a lot of fatigue, because my body's just, it's fighting itself all the time. It's attacking itself. And so that is obviously very tiring. And then I'm also obviously functioning at much reduced muscle capacity, and so my right leg will get very tired, because it's got such little muscle there that's working, that it just gets tired so easily, because it should have so much more muscle to help it out. So same with, you know, my arm, everything like that. And yeah, so then with riding, obviously that affects my riding in a way that means I don't have, again, the voluntary muscle control of my leg to kick or to squeeze with my leg. I've got distorted feeling all through like so from my waist down, so all through my glutes and things. I can't, you know, when you sort of engage your glutes, or if you're doing a glute bridge or something, if you've done those, then you feel that of engaging your glutes. Well, I can't do that on my right side, and so I don't have any of that sort of control at all. So when I ride, and you've probably seen it in my videos, but I have the strap over my thigh, otherwise I will just slide off, because I don't have the ability to use my leg to hold myself on, and my left side's so much stronger that it just pulls me over to the left. So even with my strap, I still slide to the left, just because that side is so much stronger, but it means I don't slide off. And then my foot is tied into my stirrup with a rubber band, because again, I haven't got any, so I've got that foot drop, so I have to wear an ankle brace when I'm riding as well, but I've got the foot drop and no control of the muscles in my ankle at all. So it means that I can't hold my foot in a stirrup, I can't push my heel down, I can't do any of that sort of stuff. So having the rubber band over my foot stops my foot from just sliding straight through the stirrup, which is what happens without it. And then my stirrup is attached to my girth, which stops my leg from banging around on the side of the horse, because obviously without that strap, my leg, I can't control my leg, I can't stop it from moving. So which then obviously makes me slide more, etc. So anyway, that's how I stay on my horses. Obviously I only sit trot, so I can't rise trot. I haven't got the muscle control to do that. And I have 2 whips. I ride with 2 whips. So my whips are my legs. So the horses are trained to respond to whip aids like my legs. So you'll see me using my whips a lot more than you would do if you were an able-bodied rider. And that's not me hitting my horses or using, the whip excessively. They are my legs. So where you would give your horse a squeeze or a little tap or a kick or whatever, that is me using my whips, is the same thing. Just obviously to able-bodied riders, it looks like I'm whipping my horses a lot, but I'm not. And they're trained to a lot of seat aids, a lot of rein aids, because I haven't got that use of my leg or even my seat all that much, because I can't control my glute. that the reins also, they have adapted aids with the reins. So that is how I ride. I have some very special horses that have understood all of this. So I learned how to ride like this in 2015. So I sort of got weaker from 2013 when I got sick. I got weaker and weaker until 2015, 2016 was sort of where it plateaued, and I've stayed there ever since. Like I say, I have gotten stronger in the sense that the muscle I have left has strengthened, but I've never regained that muscle that I lost. And so, yeah, I learned how to ride again like that. So Storm, my little mate Storm, he was the first horse that we learned all of this on. So he'd never done it. I'd never done it. We were making it up as we went along. And then from there, I've sort of know now what I need to do and what means what. And then I've been able to teach the other two, which has been a lot easier than when we had to work it out from scratch. The other thing that, so my disability obviously affects every aspect of my life. It affects driving, it affects getting in and out of cars, getting in and out of chairs, getting dressed, showering. I have to transfer in and out of the shower on the floor, just everything, riding, obviously getting on and off, even little things that you'd never think of, like, you know, wearing, obviously can't walk upstairs, so you have to crawl or have rails or something, and even little things like wearing, you know, slip-on shoes, like slip-on sandals and things like that. I've never been able to do that because I can't hold, because I got my toes are paralyzed. I can't hold a shoe like that on my foot, so it has to, you know, be a sneaker or something with a strap on it so that I can actually hold it on my foot, because I can't use my foot to hold a shoe on. So just little things you'd never even think of until you get ill. The other thing is that my bladder is also affected by this disease, and so I was in intensive care in June of last year, of 2021, after some complications with a surgery for endometriosis. But basically, this disease, the CRPS, had already affected my bladder, and my bladder was getting worse and worse. And then when I had the surgery, like I said before, surgery can be a trigger. Oh, George, he wants to get up on my lap. Hello. Surgery can be a trigger that basically the surgery had just pushed my bladder over the edge, and had just sort of been the straw that broke the camel's back as such. And so I ended up, after the surgery, losing what bladder control I had left, which wasn't a lot, but I lost that. So that means that I have to catheterize to be able to go to the loo. So you can Google that yourself and see all of that. But obviously that's been a big thing to get used to, and to adjust to, particularly, you know, I'm 22 and it's not sort of what I ever imagined my life would look like, but it does. It's probably about it. So I get around, I can walk, and I didn't used to be able to walk without dragging my leg because of that foot drop and because I had such limited muscle strength. So I used to have to drag my leg behind me, but now I can walk, and I sort of I use my hip and I swing from my hip. So I walk with a limp. It's not all that noticeable. I've sort of worked to make it as not noticeable as possible. But yeah, I swing from my hip. So I can't pick my leg up because of the paralysis. I can't lift my leg up, and so, you know, if you were to walk up a step, how you lift your leg up sort of from your knee or whatever, and you pick your leg up to go up the step, I can't do any of that. So if I'm going to pick my leg up, cross my legs over, anything like that, I have to physically lift my leg from like under my knee, lift my leg up. But yeah, to walk, I swing from my hip. That's to walk without my stick. Otherwise, I walk with a walking stick most of the time. So whenever I'm not at home, I'll be walking with my stick or I'll be in my chair. So my sort of newest addition is my fancy set of wheels here. And so, I haven't held my chair all that long. That's sort of since my most recent sort of deterioration. I just haven't got the the muscle endurance anymore, and the pain is, it just gets too much. So I have my chair for when I go out to uni, or if I'm going out somewhere that's going to require a lot of standing or a lot of walking or anything like that, or even just somewhere that, we don't have time to walk at my speed, which isn't very quick. I can take my chair, and it just means I've got, what little energy I have, I can use to do other things in the day, as opposed to being used to just run errands and stuff like that. So I have my chair, and then I also have my stick that I'll use around the horses. I go out with my stick if I'm not in my chair. I don't use my stick or my chair at home all that often. I will use my stick when I'm with the horses if I need to. I try not to, because obviously I'll lose a hand if I'm using my stick. I'll lose two hands if I'm using my chair. And so I do my best to walk around at home without it. Just helps to keep that muscle working and doing something, obviously more practical. And when I'm at home, I have the option of, if it takes me however long it takes me, if I need to get something done, I'll use my stick or my chair. But otherwise, I've got time, no one's waiting for me, I'm not in a rush, and I can sit down wherever I need to sit down. I can hold on to things, like all of that sort of stuff, whereas when you're out in public, you haven't got that option to just go and start holding on to things if you're going to fall over, or sitting down, or it's just not feasible. And so that's why I have my stick. But the horses are very good with me with my stick. I can, lead them whilst I'm walking with my stick, and lunge them whilst I've got my stick, all of that sort of stuff. They're very good with me. And yeah, that's how I get around. And then my, beep, beep, Morris. Beep, beep, Morris. And then my ankle brace is, I don't know if you can see it, but that's what my ankle brace looks like. So that helps with that. Dogs are going crazy. That helps with that foot drop that I was talking about before. So that's got hinges in it, which basically holds my foot up at what would be at what would be where your foot would normally be, and stops it from dropping down. So yeah, that's pretty much the story of how I ended up the way I am, and what my disability looks like for me. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, it's just @thestandyhoccan. I share a lot of this on my Instagram, and I try and share the highs and also the lows of living with something like this. Obviously living with a disease, boys, George, Morris, living with a disease like this is obviously, it's not easy. It's 24 hours a day, and there'll be days, if I get up tomorrow, it's not guaranteed that I'm going to be able to walk, and I might then end up a week not being able to walk, or whatever, or I end up having to go into hospital for treatment. So I'm in hospital for treatment a lot, and it's, it's not easy. It's really not. And so I like to share all of that on Instagram, so that, if there's someone out there who's feeling the same as me. I know when I first got sick, I tried to look for people sort of on the internet to, look up to, see how they're doing it, and everyone was just so positive about everything, and I didn't feel that way. So I like to share the highs and the lows, because it's not always positive. A lot of the time it's not. It really isn't. And if I can share that, and other people find that, there is someone out there that actually it's not all easy, yeah, I hope I can share that. So anyway, if you're interested in seeing that sort of stuff, head over to Instagram. Obviously there's a lot of horse stuff over there too, but yeah, I share the illness side of things, to try and make it easier for someone else, because I have to go through this, so I may as well help someone else if they have to, because either way I'm going to be going through it. So yeah, anyway, if you'd like to see more videos about my illness, or about, I don't know, being with the horses with the illness, or more stories about it, or anything like that, let me know. I'm more than happy to talk about it. There's really nothing that I'm not happy to talk about, because yeah, it's like I say, if it's going to help someone. So yeah, let me know. Otherwise, if there's horse related videos that you want to know about, then also let me know about those. But otherwise, I will see you in the next video. So thanks for watching.